Formula One is a pinnacle of motorsport. And whether that comes to how big the teams are, how fast the cars go, how advanced the engineering side gets to it, we all know that it's the absolute top of the pyramid if you look at every single motorsport. And you could say it is world leading in almost every aspect. But of course, it's not perfect. And I'm going to tell you my opinion of the current state of Formula One and where I think it's going to be going. This is literally not scripted at all, and I haven't got anything, no script. I've got nothing on my phone. This is the calendar. Whoops, but I've got not reading off anything. This is purely what I think is going on and the direction is Formula One is going in now. And I'm going to start with the current season, 2024, and at the start it looks like it was going to be another Red Bull dominant year. And of course, as a fan base, that's not very exciting to see. It's like the same guy winning all the time. But I think the same guy winning is a characteristic of Formula One. It's just the way it is and always has been and always will be. Plenty of times before, even back in the 50s, we had Fangio winning 5 titles. His record stood for a good 50 or so years until Schumacher eventually broke them. And of course, we've had Schumacher dominate, Hamilton dominate, now Verstappen dominate. We've had Vettel dominate, who was before that. We've had Senna dominate, we had Prost dominate, Lauda. We've had every single generation of drivers. We had that one driver who's just better, builds the team around them, and wins almost everything. And it's almost a law of nature to see one person or one entity get everything, or 90% of everything, the winner. They get everything. And to see people complain about this one driver winning or dominating is slightly irritating, I think. As it's just a whole part of it. If you don't like it, then why are you watching it? It's because it's probably because you have that hope, thinking, oh yeah, someone's going to win, someone's going to give them a battle, which of course eventually does happen, which is why you wait, because you love it so much. And it's the pinnacle of motorsport. It's the fastest cars in the world, and with the fastest drivers thrown in them, going at it, which is why you love it and stay to watch. Yeah, of course, don't get me wrong, it's not as more exciting as when a driver is dominating, especially if it's a driver that you don't like. With like an era of domination, it's followed by an era of challenge competition. We've seen it time and time and time again. Say after Schumacher, obviously Alonso won, he was being challenged by Raikkonen, and Schumacher, he was still within a challenge. He was still in contention of winning the championship. And then after that, we had Lewis Hamilton come in, we had like a three-way title in 2007, then Massa versus Hamilton in 2008. Braun dominated a little bit, but generally it was a pretty close season with Red Bull catching up pretty quickly. And of course, went into the Red Bull era where Vettel won everything. Sure, there's a bit close in between, like with McLaren, Ferrari, Alonso dragging that car, like Ferrari in 2012, almost to a title. And we didn't really have a break in between. It was just Mercedes all the way. This is probably the longest dominant streak any team has ever had in Formula One, from 2014 to 2020. 2021 if you count the constructors. But of course, 2021 was still a close year. We had a fantastic season. We had, I think, 14 drivers on the podium, something stupid like that, and 6 winners. So 2021 was the closest Formula One had ever been. And of course, now in 2024, it looks like it's repeating itself, but it looks a lot closer, with especially the top 4. There's a bit of a gap between, there's 2 versions of Formula One, got the top 4 and the rest by the looks of it, but it's generally a lot closer at the front, which is where you want to see all the action, isn't it? You don't care who's in 16th. You really don't. No one cares who's in 16th. That's not the point. You go there to see who's going to win. That's why you watch it. Not to see who finishes 16th, 8th, not even 5th. You want to know who wins. Maybe 2nd, maybe 3rd. That's it. That's all you want to know. The guys who win get all the attention, all the media, all the money, all the clout, or whatever it is. They get all of the rewards. And in terms of where the sport's going next, like in 2026 for the new rule changes, I don't know a lot about them, to be honest. All I know that I look like the 2007 cars, which is pretty cool. But people are saying that, of course, they have the active aerodynamics. Like drivers like Verstappen saying they're going to be automatic, which is like a bit... There's not really input for the driver. So like DRS, or like say even ERS, it's manual. The driver decides when they want to use it. They have full control of it. And I would agree with Verstappen to say, like, yeah, that is... I agree with Max saying the driver should have control, say, over the active aero, like DRS or ERS. It's a bit like the active suspension on the 92 Williams, where the driver didn't control that at all. It was all the computer. It read where it was on the track, then it just simply adjusted the ride height of the car to well, make it go faster in this certain part of the track. Say if it was a corner or a straight, it would adjust the ride height, optimize itself to be best on that part of the track, and change mid on while driving to optimize itself again in a corner. That Williams is a bit mental. I should make a video about that. There's probably hundreds out there, but I'm gonna make one anyway. So in terms of that, I don't think that's a good thing going forward. And it could ruin Formula One for sure, because Formula One is about the driver. It's about the how do I say this? The cars should be hard to drive. I don't think you should see all these drivers smoothly going around all these corners. I think you should be seeing them ragging it, like fighting the steering wheel, like jumping off the pedals, stuff like that. I think they should be difficult to drive. Of course, not like 2014 Ferrari difficult, because that's just ridiculous. But the cars shouldn't be smooth. You shouldn't be like steering it smoothly. Like maybe to an extent, if you say can optimize a setup or something, and if it's a driver's style, like an anomaly, someone's just weird driving style, then yeah, I think that's fine. That's a setup. What I want to see stuff like the 90s, the 80s, where they're really tussling, really fighting the car every single second. That's where you see talent. The best drivers really, really show. So of course, I don't think I could drive one myself. But from what I think now compared to, say, 30 years ago, the cars are relatively easier to drive. Because they got so much downforce. I think there's anything wrong with that. Because, of course, as Formula One improves, gets more innovative, there's going to be more downforce on the cars. But, of course, they make new regulation changes so they can knock it back a little bit. And, maybe when 2026 comes around, we're going to have these sort of cars again where they just got to tussle them around the track. As, of course, when you get so much downforce, it's just foot to the floor every corner, like sort of like the W11. That thing was a monster. Because obviously these are the best teams, these are the best drivers, the best engineers, the smartest minds on the planet, or within motorsport at least, coming together to build the best car. And, well, we want to see the best drivers given the biggest challenge, don't we? Well, of course, you want to see like Bob, who's just like a construction worker or something. No offense to construction workers. Those construction workers are very much a crucial part of society. I say, like, he could drive a Formula One car, like even if it's like the RB20 or whatever it is, he would struggle, And that's what I want to see. I want to see like these drivers be given a good challenge relatively to their skill level. I really want to see them pushed to the limit, a bit like Qatar 23. Maybe not physically, because that was a bit torturous, but to the point where they really got to physically push themselves. If they're not coming out of that car looking like Senna just won a Brazilian Grand Prix in 91, I don't think that they're not trying hard enough. It's not hard enough for them. These are the world's best athletes. And of course, the human body does have its limits. It can only go so far. Sure, I can say that, and they could go further. But in terms of like reaction times and stuff like that, stuff to do with our brain, we can't just change just like that. You can't engineer that unless you get genetic engineering, of course, which is a whole different kettle of fish. So, of course, for the cars to get much faster than, say, the W11, you'd have to genetically modify a human so they can actually, one, physically take the G-forces and the loads, the physical brutality of it, and two, they can react to things that are going on. Because if you have a car that's going like 400 kilometers an hour down the straight, like 300 around a turn, then like on average, that no human can take that for their body. Maybe you could take it in your body for like a little bit, but over a course of a Grand Prix, it'd be impossible. You'd be dead at the end. If you get to the end, that is. And yet no human could just simply react to, say, if there's like a little slide going on, you couldn't just save it because you're going so fast. Your brain just can't register that quick. So of course there is a limit to say how fast Formula One cars can go, and that's of course we get genetic engineering where we literally modify humans to make them have better fitness, faster reaction times. Then it would probably just become more of a rich man's sport. Of course it is a rich man's sport. To get there, like 9 times or 99 times out of 100 even, you've got to have money behind you. There's cases like, say, Lewis Hamilton, Esteban Ocon. They've got there for pure talent. There's a few drivers that are talented, but obviously don't have a lot of money behind them. There's probably hundreds of kids out there like who are just gone into like, say, normal jobs, just because they didn't have the money behind them. They could have been so unbelievably Max Verstappen level talented, but they just didn't have the money to go racing. So they couldn't have known. So say if there's genetic engineering, that's going to cost money. And, well, yeah, that's just going to make the gap from, say, if you're trying to get from, like, if you're in a lower income area, that's just going to make it harder to leap into the rich boys pool. So yeah, it's a bit crazy. I'm going a bit conspiracy theory with this, but I'm just having a bit of fun here, you know. I could be waffling a little bit. That's fine. No, I'm just getting my thoughts out onto the camera. If you're listening, I appreciate that, you know, and you probably agree with me. You should subscribe if you do. But you know, I don't think Formula One's going to go anywhere, and I don't think it will go electric. I think one day we will get full combustion engines back. I think that's just me hoping we will, as I believe there'll be some sort of biofuel. I don't think anything will go full electric. Say, with even road cars, for example, I don't think they'll go full electric. Say, if you look at, say, in my town where I live, there's literally like tight roads with like terrace houses, like one house after another, all connected. Like, where there's just like a row of 50 houses on a road on each side where they're just connected. And the cars barely fit in that road as it is, and can barely get one car down it, driving down it anyway, with cars on each side. And how are you going to expect to fit charging like ports inside of, like, within the pavements? The pavements are tiny, you know. So the UK is not like America where you could put that infrastructure in, and all of Europe is just not possible. So I think Formula One will be the leading aspect of some sort of biofuel or renewable fuel which will be publicly used, and the combustion engine won't go anywhere, even within Formula One and, well, on the roads. That's what I think will happen. There's no infrastructure, and to mine a lithium for electric cars, that's just as harmful as, say, you driving your Vauxhall Corsa down the road to get your bread or something. You know, it doesn't make a difference. But, you know, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Formula One, not bloody Vauxhall Corsas. But no, I do think Formula One will be okay. It will be going in a great direction. It is still the pinnacle of motorsport, and always will be. You know, the only thing that can end Formula One is probably some sort of global apocalypse or disaster. So I think the Formula One is definitely here to stay and will definitely be popular, like hella popular. And it will try to survive as coming in. That has brought loads of fans in. Of course, like, you know, I see on TikTok, there's not many, like, I wouldn't say stupid, but ignorant and uneducated, let's say that. Not to offend you if you are one of them Drive to Survive fans. This is just what I think, you know, because obviously I've been watching since I was 4 years old. I'm 21 now, 17 years. Like, that's a lot. I've watched it ever since Lewis Hamilton's made his debut. So I do know a lot about it, and I can be in this position to say, yeah, I think this will happen. This is where it will go. You know, I can say these things. I'll be pretty confident with what I'm thinking. Not to say you can't. You can have your opinion, of course, but I'm pretty confident with my opinion. Now, I want to know what your opinion is. Give me your argument. Where do you think Formula One's going to go? So Formula One will lead within biofuel or renewable fuels, and that will save the road cars, of course, so we can still have like a loud motorbike or something. Yeah. The combustion engines will be here to stay. I think one day we'll go back to them. One day we will. But let me know what you think. I'd like to know, really like to know, like, have a discussion with someone, maybe in a comment or something. So it'd be pretty cool. I probably did waffle on a little bit, but if you are still here, I really appreciate that. You should definitely subscribe and comment, like, get the algorithm going. As we were saying, man, take care. Have a good day.